Consider the impact on the human body if you ceased all fluid intake without consuming a single drop of water. Under these absolute conditions, the biological window for survival typically closes within 3 to 5 days. Human physiology operates within a strict, time-sensitive requirement for fluid that dictates every metabolic process. The body relies on a high fluid volume to maintain its internal architecture. This volume dissipates internal heat, transports nutrients, and lubricates organs to prevent friction. These systems work in tandem to maintain homeostasis, the precise biological balance required for life. A total lack of water leads to a systemic collapse of this infrastructure, as the body begins pulling moisture from its own tissues to keep the core functioning. Within the first 24 hours of deprivation, the body triggers a state of intense, persistent thirst. At this stage, thirst acts as a neurological prompt to seek resources before any structural damage occurs to the organs. By the 48-hour mark, the brain recognizes that no external hydration is available. In response, the body activates a conservation protocol, shifting from normal metabolic activity to emergency fluid retention. This diagram illustrates the mechanism. The body attempts to trap all remaining moisture by shutting down the pathways for sweating and urination. To preserve core blood pressure, the body sacrifices its ability to regulate temperature and filter toxins through the kidneys. At the 72-hour mark, the rapid transition from fluid hoarding to active cardiovascular failure officially begins. Because blood is composed largely of water, the volume of liquid in the vessels drops rapidly. This animated diagram shows hyperviscosity in action. As fluid disappears, remaining blood cells clump into a thick, slow-moving sludge. Pushing this thickened blood requires immense effort. The heart muscle must work harder to circulate fluid that has become incredibly resistant to flow. This creates a ripple effect, where vital organs begin to starve, including the brain, as oxygen delivery fails. By day 3, the body is no longer struggling with thirst. It is failing due to the mechanical friction and starvation of the cardiovascular system. This leads to the final failure point. Because the body stopped sweating to conserve water, it has no way to vent the heat generated by its own internal organs. Looking at this thermal heat map, we see the onset of thermal runaway. Without a coolant system, the heat from metabolic activity and mechanical friction builds until it overwhelms the core. When the internal temperature reaches these critical levels, cellular damage becomes irreversible and life can no longer be sustained. While humans can survive for weeks by metabolizing stored fat and muscle for energy, there is no biological substitute for water. Maintaining a consistent supply of fluid is the primary defense that prevents the body from entering this terminal sequence. When the supply stops, the biological countdown concludes quickly. Subscribe to see more about the underlying mechanics of human biology.